On today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, could and should the Bears draft Notre Dame left tackle Joe Alt? We're going to dive into that. Shout out to Peter K for being our Super Chat MVP. This was his segment idea. And before we get into this, hey, NFL draft is almost here. We're going to be live for all 7 rounds of the draft, even though the Bears, as of now, don't have a draft pick past the 4th round. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and do not forget to join us for all 7 rounds of the 2024 NFL Draft. So could the Bears draft Joe Alt? We'll kind of hit these kind of bullet points on today's show. Who is Joe Alt? What's his background? How did he play at Notre Dame? How could he fit? Is he worth trading up for? Because most people believe Alt is going to go before the Bears pick at 9. Could he slide to 9? And what would that look like if he did? And what is the impact for Braxton Jones if the Bears do draft Joe Alt, or frankly, any of the other offensive tackles early on? So let's get to Alt's background first. 33 starts at Notre Dame at the left tackle position. Funny enough, in high school, he was mostly a tight end and shifted to O-line late in his high school career, added on some weight. Even early on as a freshman, lined up at tight end some, so he's very athletic. He's my top-ranked offensive tackle for the 2024 draft. It's a good tackle draft, but he's my top guy. He is the son of former Chiefs offensive tackle John Alt, who was a first-round pick back in the day. His son slated to be a first-rounder as well. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think PFF's grades kind of outline it well. I thought he was the best offensive tackle in college football last year, just when you watch his film, his games, etc. Notre Dame runs a decent amount of pro concepts as well, so I think just in terms of scheme and how he fared, he was the best in college football. Talise Fuaga was close. Some would argue he had a better year, but he also has only played right tackle, and the Bears have a bigger question at left tackle with Darnell Wright on the right side. So I would lean Joe Alt in that regard. You look at his measurables, 6'8" and 5'8". This guy's massive. 321 pounds, 34.25-inch arm, 10-inch hands. So the measurables all check out. Now the height is, weirdly enough, taller than most offensive tackles. You almost wonder if it's too tall. We'll get to that in a minute. You look at the relative athletic score as well, which shout out to MathBomb, who does all of these. He does a great job. But a lot of green. Green is great/elite typically, as one yellow was still good with the vertical jump. It all checks out. He's athletic. He's big. He's strong. He's got big hands. He's got long arms. This is a rare size and athletic profile with Joe Alt. Like, you don't see 6'8", 321 run the way he did at the Combine, test the way he did at the Combine, move the way he does when you watch him on film. Typically, when you get these bigger guys like that, they're just slugs. They're like, they're Orlando Brown. They're maulers. They can't play in wide zone schemes, whereas Joe Alt can. He's athletic enough. He can pull. Now, there's been a thought out there. Is he too tall? Because there's not a history of a lot of 6'8", 6'9" guys in the NFL at offensive line actually having these big-time all-pro careers. There's been a few exceptions, of course. But when you watch Alt, the pad levels there, all draft analysts, kind of back that up as well. And again, he's a rare athlete. I mean, with the way he can move, he holds his own against really bendy rushers, which sure, are there going to be learning moments? And is a guy like Von Miller probably going to beat him at some point? Yes. There's going to be guys who have this rare bend and speed that might give him trouble occasionally, but those guys give all offensive tackles trouble. That's what makes them special defensive players. So the question now is, that's kind of his background, who he is as a player. Should the Bears trade up for him? Because most believe he will be gone before the Bears pick at 9. Now, is that a given? No. I think there's I'll throw it a 15% chance that he falls to number 9 overall. You look at how the draft order shakes out. If a 4th quarterback gets in there, if the 3 receivers go and Atlanta goes defense at 8, that could certainly be in play. But the Chargers at 5 and the Titans at 7 are prime teams that could draft Alt. And I wouldn't even rule out the Giants either at 6. I think that's a slight possibility as well. So the thought that he would fall to 9 is a bit of a distant one, but we'll explore that further here in just a moment. But first, I do want to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Mando. Guys, baseball season is here. Nobody likes a foul ball. Chicks dig the long ball, right? Well, you know what chicks don't dig? Guys who smell, and you don't want to be that guy, just like no one likes a foul ball. No one likes a smelly guy. That's where Mando comes into play. Step up to the plate. Take your personal hygiene more seriously with the Mando whole body deodorant. Developed by a doctor, this game-changing formula is safe for your entire body and knocks out odor like a champ. Mando is made with mandelic acid, which picks off odor at the source, keeping you fresh for up to 72 hours. Mando is available in solid sticks, invisible cream, body wash, cleaning bars, and deodorant wipes for on-the-go use. Don't let foul balls ruin your game. Switch to Mando and keep your body odor in fair territory this season. Use promo code CHAT for $5 off the starter pack from Mando, which is a big discount because the overall price isn't that high either. ShopMando.com, promo code CHAT. That gets you $5 off. That link in promo code is in the comments and in the description of this video. It's a great deal. Take advantage and don't be stinky anymore. You're adults, at least most of you. Promo code CHAT at ShopMando.com. All right, back to Joe Alt. I'd be surprised if he fell to number 9. Maybe shocked is a little strong, but I'd be pretty surprised. Just because, again, like, teams build through the trenches. And I know there's been a lot of hype on these receivers and this and that, but I would be surprised. Now, I think this is the path to it happening. I do think a fourth quarterback would have to get into the top 8, which that seems fairly likely with J.J. McCarthy getting a lot of buzz. 3 receivers would have to go, which, you know me, I'd want one of the top 3 receivers. But a potential benefit of that, if a defensive player goes, which you would think at least one would in the top 8, Atlanta at 8 being a prime category, is maybe then Joe Alt falls to you. Maybe he's there. But do we really think in a league that where all the top contenders build through the trenches typically, that no offensive lineman's going to go in the top 8 in a good offensive line draft? I just don't see it. Like, I'd be really surprised. It's the draft. It's a crapshoot. We all think we know what's going to happen. Then crazy shit happens. I get it. But I would be pretty damn surprised. Now, if you're going to trade up, here's the trade proposal I have thrown out there. Swap 9 and 7 with Tennessee, who maybe they're like, okay, we don't have a big gap between Alt and the next guy. Send 75 to Tennessee, a third-round pick, get a 5th back, which is, kind of a net late 3rd, early 4th to move up. If you remember last year, the Bears dropped from 9 to 10 for a 4th. Kind of just depends how many teams are interested. I wouldn't throw some crazy trade idea out there. Would you make this trade, type T for trade or type P for pass? This is still, by the way, based on the NFL draft chart that you can check out online. It favors Tennessee, which typically that's what you have to do inside the top 10. I just don't think I'm doing it. I don't think I'm trading up for Joe Alt, and that's not because I don't like the player. I do like, in fact, I love the player. I think he's really, really good. I just also like the rest of this group at offensive tackle. I like Talise Fuaga a lot, and if you think he can play left tackle, he's very close to Alt in terms of film. Olu Fashanu, I get, a guy or two past him this year, but that's a multi-year starter at left tackle that's held his own. And a little, bonus there is he's Caleb Williams' high school teammate, so you got that connection. I think J.C. Latham's going to go pretty high. Excuse the typo there. That should be 4. Troy Fatanu at number 5 as well. Out of Washington, the point is like this is a really good offensive tackle draft. There's other guys, too. I mean, there's Amarius Mims. There's guys on day 2 that I really like also. So I don't think you have to force it with Joe Alt when you already have Braxton Jones. I'm not trading up future capital for him, but if he's there at 9, love it. Trade up, sure, if he's awesome, you're going to end up loving it. But in the moment, it wouldn't be my favorite move, if I'm being completely honest. All right, go check out some of our recent draft videos. Where the Bears draft plans leaked. ESPN dropped an article. We discussed that. In my most recent mock draft, I did a controversial trade down with the Minnesota Vikings. Could the Bears be put in that position and consider it? Some draft targets with player comps. Kind of tried to add more context of who some of these guys could end up being in the NFL if all things go well. YouTube.com/BearsNow, but you're watching. Just hit the subscribe button. Okay, lastly here, and we've talked about this a little bit on other videos, if the Bears go offensive tackle, if they do take Joe Alt or someone else at that position, What does that mean for Braxton Jones? Like, where does he fit in all of this? A guy who has been your starting left tackle for 2 years now. I think 3 outcomes are in play. Number one, he becomes your swing tackle, which you might have the best swing tackle in the NFL at that point. A guy who's, held his own as a 5th-round pick out of Southern Utah. Graded out fairly well last year. He's definitely a better pass blocker than run blocker. But he's athletic. He pulls. He can do all that stuff. The question always with him is he ever going to have a strong enough anchor to hold up against those big-time bull rushers? Like, I still, have nightmares of Montez Sweat a couple of years ago on Thursday Night Football just bullying him, ironically, and now their teammates. But I think that's always going to be a question mark with him, which then has me skeptical of the second outcome here is he competes to start at guard next year. Maybe he competes with Nate Davis / Tevin Jenkins, although I'd be shocked if he beat out Tevin Jenkins, but maybe Nate Davis. I'm just not convinced he can play guard because of that lack of that anchor. Like, if he struggles against certain edges who would play with big power, how is he going to hold his own against 330-pound defensive tackles? Now, it's a quicker read and react position, and he's very quick. So sure, when double teams are happening this night, he's going to hold his own. But I don't think he's going to be better at guard than he is at tackle. I'd love to be proven wrong. And then number 3 is maybe the Bears just trade him. Like, if you get a new tackle and A, maybe you don't want to create that awkward situation. B, you want to get value for him. Maybe you trade him. Listen, he's a young, cheap starting left tackle in this league with 2 years left on a rookie deal. That has value. You got him in the 5th round. I think you could maybe flip him for a 4th, maybe even a 3rd. I mean, I look at a team like the Saints. They maybe have no tackles right now. Ramczyk, they don't know if he's coming back. He's got a messed up knee. And Trevor Penning, the Northern Iowa kid, he's horrible. Like, they need 2 tackles. So I could see a Saints throwing you a middle-round pick for him. So teams are always looking for starting tackles in this league. So if they do upgrade there, I could see the Bears considering trading him. All right. That wraps up the Joe Alt segment. All that being said, should the Bears draft Joe Alt? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I would love it if it was at 9. The only guy I would take over him is if it's one of the top 3 receivers. Otherwise, he's my top guy. Y for yes and for no. Wouldn't trade up, but would like to have the player. All right. Thanks to you guys for tuning in to this Joe Alt segment. Shout out to Peter K. for being our Super Chat MVP on last week's live show, which led to this episode. See you guys soon. Bear down.